Hey guys, welcome to RZ and welcome to week 5 of my job. And we're going to flip the camera around and show you what this week might have in store for us. I got my employee problems hopefully worked out. I got some new guys arriving. One's a local and one's flying in from Los Angeles area. Let's flip the camera around, take a poke around. It's Monday night. I didn't shoot an opener or anything for Monday morning, but we got some work done on Saturday and we're at close of business here on Monday, so let's see what our progress is. Well, this oven, we got all that racking in right there. All the way down at the other end, there's a Kentucky group. We're still missing those 4 longitudinals you see there. Missing. All we have to do is we have to add channels and angles and little filler panels and stuff to that. And then we can skin that with B-decking all the way down. I showed you the drawings on that last week. So this one is all done except for 4 pieces I'm missing here and here. But all the way down, that is done. I don't think it's up high enough to see the whole thing. Oh, yep, there it is. That one's finished. This one, we've been playing with the angles and channels and everything showed up today, so we've been messing with those all day. Some of them we had to actually weld together. You know, some of them weren't long enough. We had to do some trimming and make sure we matched the materials list with everything. There's some there we had to put together, and we started down here on this rack. As you can see there, see that channel just kind of clamps and welds onto that. And so we've got one channel here, you can see the end grain of it, one channel there, and then over here we've got another channel that faces it, and then the B-deck just kind of loads in like that. And then way up high, you can see it up there, there's a channel way up there. Then there's another one that welds in right here to give that a end cap. And there's another one way up there. It gets welded in, and the other one gets welded in on this tube right here, right in front of us. So it's kind of challenging to do, get all this in. Well, I'm not going to call it challenging. It is time consuming. So getting those channels in, getting them in right so the B-deck fits is kind of tricky. But we got all the support structure that we have in. And now we're moving on to channeling, and then we can finally move on to loading B-deck. That's this stuff over here. Today's Monday. We're still down to 2 guys, so we got all that done with just 2 of us. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll have 3, and the day after that we're going to have 4. So let's see what this week brings. Hopefully this week will be better than last week. Enjoy the rest of the show. Well, I can't drive the lift anymore. That tire's up against one of those columns. Thank God for telescoping booms though. So we scoped it in. It's about 10 feet from its destination. Not bad. He went to go get a broom. We're gonna broom that and get it down on some cribbing. And from there we'll put it on Hillman rollers and roll it into place and just lift it with crowbars and things like that. But that's one burner box off the truck, through a gravel lot, snuck it in through a door. It came in horizontal. We had to stand it up vertical out in the big part of the building. Then we brought it in vertical, and all he's going to do is get it on cribbing, and I'll telescope back, and we can put that sucker in place. Well, they're just cleaning over there. And this monstrosity goes into, plugs into that hole. Well, today's Wednesday, and we've got 2 new employees. We got one that's a local to this job site. I ran 2 ads in ZipRecruiter, one in back home and one here at the job site area. So I've got one local and one we flew in late yesterday from the Los Angeles area. And so I've got employees again. There's 4 of us here, and they're working hard. I can go back to this, you know, being a boss. I'm sitting here doing paperwork at my desk, going over plans, giving them guidance when they need it, and being what I'm supposed to be. You know, running parts, getting fuel for the loaders, just making sure the guys are fed, making sure the guys got everything they need to keep on rolling. So I'm back to being a boss again. Feels good. I'm used to running big crews. I've run some pretty big ones before, but 4 is pretty perfect for what we're doing here. And I don't use that word perfect very lightly. So it's a good size for what we're doing. Let's go over to the oven, and we'll show you. In a previous video I showed you we took delivery on one of the big air handlers, heater box, which is the blower heater combination, and all the gas controls and everything are mounted on it. And those get shipped horizontally, and we stood it up. I didn't get any video of that because there was only 2 of us that day, and it took both of us to stand that thing up. 2 forklifts, and it goes upright. And then we, you saw earlier, we squeezed it down an aisle with about 1 inch to spare on each side. I do want you to notice the lack of blue paint on their gray beams in the building. You know, we didn't trade paint with any of the building. We got it in there without even touching. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, 1 inch is as good as a mile. I don't care how big your parts are. All right, so we'll go look at the air handler getting put in. It's we shoved it over this morning and got it attached to the actual oven, and they're just doing some flashing and insulating on that now. So that's what's transpiring over on one side, and then they're cutting, welding, grinding, and putting in the corrugated B-deck, that space filler. They're finishing that up, so they're doing that in the dry-off oven. So let's go over there and see what they're up to. Okay, well, our burner box is in place. You know, it took us longer to roll it 10 feet than it did to get it in the building and shove it over here. And you know, this thing's they ship laying down flat, so this whole thing is 12.5 feet tall, and there's a burner hanging out of the top of it, so it's 12.5 feet plus the height of the burner. And I was worried that this entire assembly wouldn't fit under the conveyor because we had to roll it in vertically up on a forklift. We had a forklift under that base, so it was lifted probably 2 or 3 inches there. But we cleared the conveyor rail. That conveyor rail, we cleared the rail by a good 8 inches, so it either fits or it don't. So the burner box is in place, gas train there. This gets a giant motor that bolts to the motor plate bolts to that section there, lays on the floor, gets red-headed to the floor, and that's what spins the blower. I think this one's a 30 horse. And of course it's got a Gigantor belt guard. And there's the fit there. There's a little peek at the burner up on top. That's an Eclipse line burner. I want you to notice these gray beams. No blue paint on those. And no blue paint on those. We got it down that aisle and got it in here with a big loader. And it came in way down there, and those doors down there. There's an 18-foot door there. So we're able to get it in sideways in that back door. And we stood it up inside the building and rolled it over on forks. And got it, like I say, within 10 feet. And then we rolled it 10 feet on some 3/4 inch cold roll bars, and it took us longer to go the last 1/4 inch than it did to roll it 10 feet on the bars. So the last little bit is quite often time consuming. You got to plumb it up, make sure it's, you know, parallel with the oven shell and everything butts up tight. And then that trim, there's a 2x2 trim that goes around it on the outside, and on the inside we put an 8x8 coping and insulate it, and we'll go around and look at that next. Okay, but there she is. But with that tapered beam, when we were rolling it in, we had 1 inch to the oven, and I had 1 inch to that beam, so I had a total of 2 inches clear. But you know, 1 inch is as good as a mile, right? We got it in. Didn't trade any paint. Okay, here's the inside of the burner box. You can see they're starting to trim it out now. The bottom trim piece is in. This piece here is already insulated and dropped in, tucked under our ducting. This is the actual blower in there. And then they get the 8x8 trim that goes in here. This gets all insulated all the way around. Across the header, that gets insulated, so it gets an 8x8 trim all the way around there. And you got to be real careful. The insulation here, this is coming out of this duct is superheated air. So if you actually blow air into a cavity, it'll actually burn out the insulation. So you have to make sure you tuck your sheet metal in the correct direction so the air cannot get behind our coping, which is pretty easy to do. They give us a nice gap here to put our metal in. And then when we put ducting in, it actually tucks in behind this. So this stays loose until the actual return ducting goes in. All right, so he's working on capping and insulating the burner box. There's a line burner right there. If you don't know what a line burner is, you can see an air gap all the way around it. That's where it gets its combustion air. And down the center, that's called a ribbon burner. That's where the actual flame comes out, and then it gets combustion air around it on both sides of it, and it's under a vacuum because that burner there and that up there is under a vacuum pulling down, and then in here is a dual inlet blower that pulls air in both sides and spits it out right here down low. So that burner is always under a vacuum, and its combustion air is pulled in by those slots around the burner. Well, the guy came over from the trailer company this morning to look at our progress, and he said, "Hey, why are you putting a C-train inside of our oven?" That's what it looks like. When you start hanging that B-deck, it looks like a C-train. So that definitely looks like some kind of container. So you can see there, you can see the how it fits in the channels. And that B-deck just kind of floats in there. You know, it can heat up and cool down and expand and contract, and it's not bound by anything. It's just kind of sitting in those channels all the way around. So over here there's a channel top and a channel bottom, and it's got about a 1/4 inch to spare, and that's what that space waster looks like. And they're down there putting in the last little bit of it right now. They got 2 more bays to go. So there's the motor that we got to hoist over to that recirculation blower, and let's see what horsepower this is. There it is, 40 horse. She's a big one, and you don't just pick that up and lug it around. I don't know what the shipping weight on that is, but it's it's substantial. Anyways, this just lays on the floor next to that air handler. They even tie wrapped the belts there for me. It did not get a belt guard, which is disturbing. But putting belt guards on after the fact are no fun. But that just actually screws to the air handler on that one side and then bolts to the floor in 2 locations. So we're going to throw an eyelet in there, pick it up with the sling, and fly it in with a zoom boom. I got that little zoom boom that'll run down that aisle and drop that thing almost in place, almost exactly where it goes. So that's next. Boys are at it. I missed the spark shots. I'm always a day late and $1 short. Oh, there's some spark shots. They're well galvanized, which is fun. It's only G20, which the coating isn't that thick, so it burns through easy. And as you can see, it doesn't make a lot of smoke. It's the G60 and G90 that anything above G90 is bad. But our motor goes right there where you see the shadow mark where it was painted, right there. That motor gets dropped in right there. So that's next after I get some of this crap out of my way so I can get a loader in here. Well, we got our cargo container done. They're just finishing up the final weld. There's a little cap that goes on the very end after you get the whole belly in the thing. The belly just sits there loose. It's just laying in channel the whole way. And our motor's in place. Air handler's done. It's all flashed in there. And I don't know if it's too dark in here or not. It's starting to get dark in this oven. They got coping all the way around this, all insulated. That's all finished. So air handler's installed. All we do is put a couple red heads in the floor so it doesn't move. And that's it. Okay, well, we're done with this oven as far as we can go. I'm waiting on return ducting. That goes opposite of our sea container, our sea train. So that box sits on one side and the other side is a return duct that goes back to the air handler. Motor's installed, belts are on, everything's bolted down, done. That's all ready for electrical now. So that's just electrical hookup. That's all that needs. Most of it's pre-wired in that gray Hoffman box. There's all that's pre-wired. There's a pin rail in there. You just make a single point connection. And then of course the recirculation motor. But this one's finished up to that point. Good news is I went out and got me had to buy a brand new Miller 211. My little 211 was beyond repair. So that box, but we're inside with two welders now. Finally got two welders going. One's on the scissor lift, one's on the ground, and I got two people in there welding their little hearts out. Another guy's over there in that loader bringing over V-decking, and we're gonna repeat that process for the big oven. We got to get all the corrugated up in there, and they're welding in the channels right now. So that's my Thursday. So we're kind of back on track welder wise. So my 211 problems are gone, my employee problems are gone. Overall it's been a good week. Not a lot of progress on the job, but we've overcome quite a few problems, and next week we should roll pretty hard. Well, it's finally a Friday, and we're working on behind me, where you can see we're actually working on the conveyor. One of those horseshoes up there was right in our way. Put the keyhole in. There's a keyhole. The conveyor key goes around there. So we had to grind out one of those horseshoes, and we're doing that. That's the only place it occurs. The other three conveyor openings are fine. So hopefully we'll get the rest of the conveyor keyholes finished and get the rest of those hung on the big oven. Oh, let me flip the camera around. I'll show you around real quick. All right, well, camera flipped around. He's up there grinding the rest of the weld off. We used a plasma cutter with a gouging tip to cut out most of the weld, but we didn't want to gouge up the actual conveyor rail. So that horseshoe, what did I do with it? Oh, I think I took it back to him already. One of those blue horseshoes had to come out of there because it was set perfect, right where my conveyor key goes in. Those two pieces, those one over here on the left, that's the swing over. That one there on the right, that's to come over and actually meet. And that little dog leg up top actually sits on top of the conveyor rail, sits directly on it. So that had to go. This is the dry off oven. So this is our first one. We'll see how the rest of them go. The rest of them aren't really in our way. The interior of that one's done except for return duct. And we still got B-deck to put in. We got all that B-deck over there and over there. We still got B-deck to put into this. And they're in there doing the channels and stuff. All those channels are getting welded in there. For the B-deck to slide in. It just slides in from the end, and then we weld a cap on the end after it's all in there. And they're up there with the little Miller 211. Finally welded with the little machine. My days of hoisting that pig up in the air are over. That's an old Miller Whiteface. 1984. But they're up there hitting that galvanized angle. All right. Okay, so there was a note on my plans. Right here, it says, pin bar on left as approaching, pin bar on right as moving away. This is the pin bar right here. That little pin right there. See the line going over to it and pointing to it? So that's a pin bar. On left as approaching, pin bar on right as moving away. And that depends on my portal. My portal is offset. You see my conveyor runs dead center, but my portal is offset one way to clear the pin bar. So as my pin bar is approaching, pin bar on left as approaching. So if I'm coming towards an oven, it would be on the left. And as I'm leaving the oven, it would be on the right. Right? Well, that's not what they meant. And you know, I called the company and I said, I'm trying to get my portals right here, and your two sentences is incredibly confusing. So the engineer read it, and I said, I said left and right is a very relative term. Where am I standing looking at this oven when it's on the left or the right? He says, well, you're inside the oven looking out. Oh, you mean I'm not outside the oven looking in? And so then he tried to explain it to me, and I said, well, read your instructions to me. And he says, pin bar on left as approaching. And I said, okay, I did that. As I'm approaching the oven, I put the pin bar on the left, so my portal is larger on the left to clear the pin bar. And he says, no, that's wrong. I said, read your sentence again. I think he read it about 6 times, or I made him read it 6 times. But we finally got the portals right. And what they wrote to me is incredibly confusing. And by the end of that, I was completely exasperated by the end of that conversation. So that was my Friday, was dealing with an engineer over at General Automatic Transfer, and him trying to explain to me lefts and rights and things like that. And instead of using relative terms like that, I made him give me something absolute. I said, is it on the heater side or is it on the non-heated side? And he said, oh, it's facing away from the heaters in all respects, in all ovens, no matter what. I said, well, then your instructions don't make any sense. So they were killing me with that. What makes sense to them doesn't make sense to us. Well, we're millwrights, and because, you know, engineers need heroes too. So there you go. So anyways, we got our portals set. I'm not even gonna walk you over there. Everything's getting all cleaned up. We're out of here for the week, but we've got portals standing at the ends of all our ovens. We've got guts in all our ovens, and we're still waiting on some return duct work to finish our high reach work inside the ovens. And you know, we can move on from there. We can start doing floors and air knives and things like that, and finally close these things up. I'm trying to get the ovens to substantial completion by the beginning of November, because the powder booth people are showing up November I think it was November 5th, my last pieces of my powder booth are showing up, the cyclones and the bag houses and the dust collectors. So the last little bit of that's coming, and when that hits, then they're going to be horny to put in the powder system. All right, so I'd like to get these ovens completed by then. And then the washer, we're not getting that till after Thanksgiving. All right, but powder booth's going to be next. But I want to. We're pushing on week 5. We got a lot done on the ovens. Week 6, I think we're going to be pretty close to completed as long as I can get parts. All right. I hope you enjoyed part 5. It's my progress. You know, I've recovered from all my bad week, you know, with the employees and the welder and all that stuff. I've recovered from that, and we're back on track, red hot and rolling. I appreciate you guys watching. I want you to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Saturday morning with your coffee, home with your family. All right? All right, man. We'll see you guys on episode 6. Thanks for watching.